We ought to play some music. You
You got
bought?
some?
No, I don't have any up. I was feeling some Donny Hathaway. We ought to play some music. No. Oh God, here it is.
Oh, hush. All right, let's see.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Happy Chicken and Waffles Monday.
Oh, is it? I thought it was Miracle Monday. It's Chicken and Waffles Monday. What happened?
Yes, it's
oh.
Miracle Monday.
Oh, okay, cool. Happy Miracle Monday.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Excellent.
I came on time, right?
Yes, you did. Good job.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here at 7 o'clock already.
Yep, it is.
Kathy's not here yet, right?
Not just yet.
Oh, okay.
Kathy may be traveling.
I'm traveling?
Yes.
Maybe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wait, hold on. Maybe she I might
Perfect, Oh, okay. That she is. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Shanna.
We're gonna pause for a second. All right, thanks, Kaleem. I'm gonna pause for a second.
Okay. Hey, how are you?
Hang on to the world as it spins around.
Hello. What's up? Welcome, everybody.
Just don't let the spin get you down.
Yep, I see your music, everybody. I see Kathy.
Things are moving fast.
Hello.
Bishop had inspiration. He wanted to hear some good
Hold
old.
on tight and you will last. Keep your self-respect, your manly pride. Get yourself in gear. Keep your stride. Never mind your fears.
Giving everybody a chance to come on in.
Brighter days will soon be
Now.
here. Take it from me, someday we'll all be free.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Little groove and music. We should do a radio station for Monday night. Thanks for listening to Monday Night Live. We got Shannon Anderson in the house. We have Kathy
All
in
right,
the
come on through now.
We got Lady Wanda Jackson Norman in the house, ladies and gentlemen, with that beautiful Chicago background. Hopefully everybody's grooving this evening. The Honorable Professor Dr. Monty Norwood is going to bless us with some words of encouragement to start off your week. Hopefully it started off all right. Things are moving fast, but if you hold it on tight, you will last with Jesus. All right.
Keep on walking tall.
I got.
Your head
Thanks, Johnny.
Lay your dreams right up to the sky. Sing your greatest.
Here we go.
One more chorus.
And you'll
Come on,
keep
yeah.
growing
Come on, everybody. Take it.
Take it from me, someday we'll all be free. Hey, just wait and see, someday we'll all be free. Yeah. Take it from me, someday we'll all
right, y'all.
Love
That
some
was
Donny Hathaway. My
right. That
God.
felt right. You got that. You called that one. That felt about right. That felt about right. Sophia home now. Sophia home now.
Things about to change around here.
Thanks. That's right. That's right. That's right. How y'all doing? What's going on? What's on your mind?
There's always something going on in our world, in our nation, in our metro, in our communities, in our lives. I was feeling sort of nostalgic because just received word that one of my uncles passed away, my mother's youngest brother. His name is John Douglas Richardson. He's a native of Bronx, New York. He was living in Salt Lake City, Utah. A gifted pianist, musician, composer, songwriter, and he had been battling cancer. So if you were from Old Bible Way, he used to live with us while we grew up. He would live for periods of times with us. So just announcing his transition and thankful and grateful for his life that he lived. Just a very unique person, very talented person, very gifted person. So my siblings and I knew him well.
I saw a post on the Bible Way page with the music. Was that the uncle you dedicating?
Yeah. So we called him Uncle Douglas. His name is John Douglas Richardson, but everybody knew him as Uncle Douglas. So
Didn't your mom have a brother that used to come to Bible Way?
yes.
That's not the same.
No, not him. He's the oldest. There are four of them, two boys,
Okay.
two girls.
Got it.
So he moved. He used to live here. He now lives in outside of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. What was his name again?
Allen.
Okay.
Woodrow Allen Richardson. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry for
And
your
there's
loss.
the last remaining sister, Dr. Jean Bennett. So yeah.
Got it. You if I may pivot, you spoke about love. You called an audible on Sunday. How did that come about? Please tell us the behind the scenes.
In the words of the elements of the universe, it's all about love.
Yes.
So I said, what is the elements of the universe?
Earth, wind,
Yeah, only the greatest man of all time. Anyway,
fire. All right.
so we had a theme. Our Grief Share Ministry was recognizing and honoring our widows and widowers, and they asked me to say something along the lines of what they call the word of hope, having been a widower who found love again, and they wanted me to emphasize that widowhood is not necessarily the end of your love story. And so we had a lot of moving parts our worship service yesterday. We had a lot of different emphasis. We had a reception of a new member. We had the focus on our widows and widowers, and I was just led to focus on that theme of companionship and relationship. It's interesting from a biblical or Christian perspective, whether you have marriage, need marriage, want marriage or not, we all need relationships. We all need companionship. And one of the words in the New Testament is koinonia, community, family. It's like we were made to need each other, and whether that's marriage or not. And so I just took off on a theme that I take off with my students from time to time, that believe it or not, when we get to heaven, there will be no marriage. And I've had people argue with me about it. No. They told me, Pastor, you're going to have two wives. And, so I kind of touched on a lot of different things and talking about relationship and marriage and the nature of love. I talked about how specific the Greek language is about love, that there are 6 words in the Greek language that describe love very specifically, the kind of love you're talking about. Greek is a much more precise language than English. So instead of going through all 6, I just did eros, from which we get erotic. I did phileo, from which we get Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And then the Christ-like love, agape, which is self-sacrificing love. And you really need all 3 of them to build a healthy relationship in marriage, and you need them to build healthy relationships with sisters and brothers in Christ. And sometimes when we try to go it alone, what we describe in the United States often as rugged individualism, it does not work out best for us because we were meant to give to others and others to give to us. So we just called an audible and decided to talk about that in the midst of all of the moving parts. Also, a very interesting thing about our congregation is that the majority of our congregation is single, either divorced, never married, widow, or widower, which is very interesting. And some people would say, I'm happily unmarried. And I made the point that when we get to heaven and people find out there's not going to be any marriage, some will be happy and some will not be happy. I have to let that marinate with people. So, but I appreciate the joy of marriage. I told Wanda about my colleagues and friends who asked me, why would you get married again? And I'm not really exaggerating. I had a number of them. I have family and friends and colleagues like, let me talk with you. Let me talk. But I could not be more in love
Beautiful.
and
That's a beautiful
appreciative
thing.
of the gift that God has given. God became the head of my search committee because I didn't have sense enough to know what to look for. We look for things that we can see and feel and experience on the surface. We see to the corner, but God sees around the corner, and God knows what we need. So yeah, that's kind of a little backdrop of what happened yesterday in the worship experience. I got a lot of good feedback about it. People
It was great. I thought it was appropriate and surprising because we sit through it with the growth notes and we think we know what's going to happen, and then you throw the curveball, but it was good. We are members of Bible Way Ministries International. I didn't do that intro, but join us sometimes. We're at 894 Constitution Road in Atlanta, Georgia, 30315. But tonight is a special night. If you are just passing through, if you popped onto your social media pages or YouTube and you're like, what are they talking about? We're talking about current events. We're talking about spirituality. We talk about love with the Doctor of Love, Professor Dr. Monty Norwood, who just
It's all
preached
about
on
love.
love.
All about love.
And occasionally we play a song that's probably going to get our video banned from but we're rebels, y'all. We're just rebels, and we just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
And one of the purposes of Monday Night Live is for community and for conversation and an exchanging of ideas. Sometimes we all want to just talk about what we heard about or get an opinion from other people, just to kind of continue to grow. I think an exchange of ideas, I'm sure you can put it in some metaphoric manner, Professor, but and the exchange of ideas can help us all to grow and formulate our opinions and thoughts. So Shannon, as I'm saying this, I'm looking at you and I'm like, she got something. She looked like she about to burst.
All the time.
Can I just jump in before we start?
Go ahead.
I love the whole starting of the music thing. And even if they do it, it's not like many people are probably going back and watching, but for the actual present time, it's very
nice.
Soothing. That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, that was Professor. He's like, I'm feeling like some Donny Hathaway before y'all got on. I said, well, let's make it happen. That was good.
I love me some Donny Hathaway anyway. I mean, it was befitting. It was befitting. Sometimes we have to take time out of our busy lives, busy schedules, and just take a moment to breathe. And that's one of those songs you can kind of breathe, listen to it. Pastor said he's a hope dealer. So, I'm on that bandwagon as well. I try to deal hope as many ways as possible. And just sitting out today, going back to the message yesterday. Oh my goodness, that gave so much hope. I just know, personally from a lot of people there that it dealt some hope, much needed hope, for people that are, craving relationships, not just with, a mate, but with family and friends, and just, to reevaluate things. Sometimes you have to just take a moment and say, was that conversation that hard for me, where I won't be around my family and friends, or where I can't work it out, we can't talk about it. Not everything is going to work out, but at least try. So that was a great thing for me. Another takeaway was that, let God be the head of your search committee. A lot of times, people get caught up into what they should and shouldn't do, and they go down this whole rabbit hole with it, and it can end up making you more crazier than anything. Dating and everything is scary out there for those still out there on the scenes. It's scary to be daters. And so, you want to have some kind of wisdom when you're going out in the world to engage. Another thing I wanted to talk about was climate change. Man, I'm out here in this heat, and it's not summer yet. My birthday is actually the first day of summer, June 21st. Shout out to me.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, so first day of summer. But I wanted to talk about climate change. What are we doing? What advice can you give that we can help as individuals? I just feel like we're responsible for what's going on in the world right now. And it's some commercials I've been catching. I think it's Moms Today or something like that. And they've been showing these clips of like a playground, and it was nice and lush with grass and everything. And then next thing you know, it's desolate, or wildfires that have just popped up out of something that was beautiful before, tsunamis, all that kind of stuff. What do y'all think about what can we do as people to make things better?
I think in a quick summary that we are in trouble, and unfortunately that it may have to get worse before it gets better. I think there are just a number of markers around the world, but particularly here in the United States, with the strength of storms and the spread of Tornado Alley, how many tornadoes we've had is just pretty amazing. The extremes in the weather, the climate, sea level rise in Florida, where there are people right now in Florida who can't afford to raise their homes. And we're all paying for it in an increased insurance cost. So there's an economic liability to all of us, no matter where you live. The trends are there, they're documented. You got people who've got their head buried in the sand. You've got industries that are committed for economic reasons not to make any changes. But I think the critical mass will increase as things get worse, and the impact upon our health, impact upon us economically, financially, force us to realize we've got to make some different choices in terms of our sources of energy, in terms of our policies, in terms of what we do. And I think so things are being done now incrementally, but not to the level of the seriousness that this is. And I think the picture is even worse for people who are more marginalized in other parts of the world, who are the victims of a lot of our usage or misusage or abuse. So I think you're on to something. And we could address this in so many different ways, but I think it's a reality, and it's why you see, the effort to change policies globally, to change policies nationally. I don't hear as much, as much argument against it as I used to, but there's still people who ask, is it real? And there are lots of books, there are lots of information out there on a popular level as well as at a deeper scientific level that you can consume and read and understand. But things are changing, and you can see it, you can feel it. That's the interesting thing. I think that's the basis of your comment. You're feeling it. And I can't speak for everybody, but I think the insurance industry is making us all pay a price in different ways. So I think that we'll become more engaged, and hopefully more will be done. It'll become an issue in terms of what the policies of our politicians are who run for office and what they'll do to address this, to be a part of the solution. Yeah.
I was just telling you guys about while I was in Antigua, they had a conference of all the small islands, world's small islands, because the thing is, all these islands are being affected. The coral reefs are dying. The fishing is dwindling because the sand is, because the coral reef, the fish, all of that works to make the beaches, and a lot of the beaches are coming up. There's a erosion. The beaches are coming higher and higher and higher, and most of the stuff is happening in these small islands have nothing to do with the pollution that's causing some of this global warming, but they're the ones that are going to be dealing with it first, right? The major countries that are putting out the fumes and the whatever toxics that are pushing towards global warming, they're not doing anything. So, I think the little that we can do is just be aware, because I think half of the problem with the average person is that I don't think they really pay attention, because it doesn't affect them immediately. It's not, okay, it's hot, it's summer, it's hot, but being conscious that, yeah, it's hot, but does it not feel hotter than it has been, And so it's that kind of thing. It's like just being conscious. I think we lose so much because we're just going. It's like we're asleep, right? That's why we got to get woke. Yeah, but it's like we're just going in motion and not paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good points. Great points. Yeah.
I just think about so much of our childhood is so different from the childhood that a lot of people, just even in Atlanta, when we go out on a night sky, we would see the stars just, clear as day. We would see a bunch of fireflies, just a whole bunch different cooler evenings. We would have some hot summers, but not nearly as what we have now. It's just so much different. Even at the lakes and stuff, I mean, some of the lakes are being taken over with some kind of algae, and then I heard of something else just came up, was a sexually transmitted rash. A sexually transmitted. Have y'all heard about fungus? A sexually transmitted fungal thing that you can breathe on somebody and give them this rash. Have y'all heard about that? Very contagious. No. It literally just broke news, I think, in June. They say they've had a few cases of it where people have got this fungal infection. And it's sexually transmitted. I was like, wow. So I think we're going to see a lot more new stuff like that pop up, that our bodies and things like that cannot fight. Most of the fishing industry, like Kathy, you were saying, if you go to most of the restaurants, you're not even getting the fish that they say they're serving you. So, really, you got to go to the islands to get your fish, actually, unless you really trust these restaurants out here. But a lot of them failed the test when they actually did the DNA test. So I heard of somebody actually is suing an ice cream company because it was no pistachios in the pistachio ice cream. It was something in there, but it wasn't a pistachio. So I think you're gonna find more things like that to replace our actual food supply. With what's going on right now, we're not going to stop demanding it. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, again, when I grew up, I could see all the stars in the sky, right? In the Caribbean, and going home, and I was on the beach at night, and I was like, what happened to the stars? Like, we're small. I mean, yes, there's more lights, but we're a tiny 108 square foot island. We cannot be putting out that much light at night because everything closes. Unlike the US, where everything is, people go home at 6 o'clock. You can hardly find things open, right? People go home and it's dark, but you still couldn't see much of the stars. And I was like, what's happening? I don't know. Yeah, square miles, not square feet. Yeah, but it's so something is happening. I don't know. There's a thing where you want progress, but how much the more progress we have, the more we destroy ourselves. It seems.
Yeah, sometimes it's about it boils down to economics, follow the money trail. Sometimes the issue is greed, corporate greed. And when enough people are impacted negatively, you see a gradual change. It works its way through the legal system or the court of public opinion. Many of the issues related to diet are not new. For instance, if you travel to Europe, their standards for the kind of food and produce they eat are much different than here. They don't allow some of the dyes and the additives that we allow because of economics and because corporations don't want to spend the money not to use them, but they've been outlawed in other places. And so we're just slow to transition. Even the issue about what kind of fish you're eating. I've long heard stories about that, even from the fish you buy in the supermarket. So, I think we have to be wary and engaged, wise as serpents, harmless as doves. But I think, again,
I buy my fish with the head on.
you need to look at the eyes, say how you
You need to look in the eyes and know what you're eating. Let me stop.
make sure the eyes are not cloudy, et cetera, et cetera. But I think, there are options and alternatives. Sometimes, you have to pay more for those. And one would ask, well, why do I have to pay just to eat food that is safe? And so again, there are lots of reasons for that, looking at the corporate bottom line, looking at where we live and the powers that be and the change that happens sometimes just gradually in society that we figure, why is it happening gradually instead of all at once? So I was just having a conversation with a sister yesterday at church, and she was talking about her son's challenge with getting insulin. And I said, well, didn't Biden just make a deal with the pharmacist? And she reminded me it was for seniors. It's not for everybody. So some people still have a problem paying for insulin. So it's a basic life-giving drug. And so we know that it was just a big deal here just to have the government be able to negotiate with pharmaceutical companies when it's not an issue in many parts of the world, especially in Europe. So that's an economic issue that's really related to a life and death issue. And so it kind of gets back to some previous conversations we've had about being engaged in a political process, whether our candidates win or not, and after the vote, remaining engaged to see what they're doing, how they're governing, what laws they're making, et cetera, because there's a impact that happens that touches all of us in one way or another. So that's a reason to stay engaged and vigilant, I think. So
I see Santero joined us. What's on your mind, Santero?
Oh, no, nothing much. I'm driving as usual. I feel like I'm driving every Monday at 7 o'clock. So
we're glad to have you on.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm driving back from Alabama. I drove down this morning to take care of some business and on my way back to Atlanta.
Okay. Hopefully you had some good
Yeah.
food when you were there.
Oh, I just ate some leftovers from yesterday. Yeah, but yeah, the only thing sometimes I think about, just like interactions with younger people sometimes, and I heard something. Someone played me a clip. This was Friday, I think, and I'm not sure who the person was. It was an older Black man, and he mentioned something to the effect of. And this probably, I'm thinking it was on Instagram, I believe. But, and again, I tried to see who it was, but I didn't recognize him. But he mentioned something to the effect of like this generation, I guess the generation of Black children who are coming up are like, they're going to be the first group or something like that to do worse than their parents. And yeah, so that just kind of strikes me because it's like we talk about, making, we're always focused on making progress. Anyone who has a child, of course, they want their children to have a better life than what they have. But I do wonder, I just know of so many young people and they're not doing anything. And it's like it seems like they have no ambition to do anything. Like they're content with just doing nothing. And I started counting one day the young men that I know, just, being transparent, even in my own family. And I counted, I know 10 plus. And I'm like, I know my family I know it may sound anecdotal, but I'm sure this is probably the case, for a lot of people. And I go places now in Atlanta, and this is not meant to sound racist at all, but I had to go because I'm in the process of trying to do something without going into a lot of details. But I went to like multiple banks, all Chase banks, 3 last week. Went to 3 branches. One, the guy who was the branch manager, he was from Ghana. I went to another branch, and the branch manager, I believe he was Indian. And then I went to another bank, and I don't know if he was the branch manager, but clearly he was Hispanic. And then I'm like, and I'm in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, and I was just like, so I'm seeing like people from, other ethnic backgrounds, and I mean, Ghanaian, I know they're Black, but they're still not Black Americans. So I'm just like, where are Black Americans in Atlanta? And that's just 3 banks, but I start to see this a lot. And then when that man asked the question about, that the generation of Black children who are coming up are going to be the first generation to do worse than their parents, it's striking. And I mean, just several places I go and I start to take notice, and I feel like we're not present, like we're not there. I'm going to the bank to try to, set up a checking account to hopefully get like a line of credit or whatever. And, and I'm just like, I'm not dealing with any Black Americans. I'm like, in Atlanta, that's crazy to me. And I mean, that's not me and my prejudice. I mean, I'm just like, I thought Atlanta's supposed to be like the chocolate city, the Black Mecca and all of this. And I'm like, it seems like we're disappearing from like key positions and key jobs. And then when they talk about the regression that's happening in our community, I mean, even as it relates to church, I don't know. I just like, what's going on? I mean, I don't know. It's just concerning.
I have 2 comments. I laugh because when I was working it was Wachovia back when I was the teller manager, and I was in charge of hiring tellers. And somebody said to me, Kathy, you only hire people from other places? And because I looked down the teller line, and it was a big branch on Memorial Drive. It was during the time when we were open. I don't know if you all remember when the bank, Wachovia, was opening till 7. Some of the branches were open till 7 and things like that. And so it was a large branch on Memorial Drive. And I looked down the teller line, and I realized I'd hired Caribbean people, an African person, and Indian people. And I didn't do it on purpose. First of all, you only can hire who apply, right? But then when I did have tellers that came in, unfortunately, when they had roving tellers, and the ones I had the most problems with showing up on time and not wanting to do the work and having issues with the customers, unfortunately, were the American ones. American ones. And I like I said, I didn't do it on purpose, but I laugh when she said that because sometimes that happens. Another thing, and I've said this before, when I was at the firm, they had this issue where, it's 2% in Atlanta. Why is, the large big 4 firms, why are they having such a hard time retaining African Americans or any Blacks in the higher as they get higher? And it was, one of the things was like recruiting, you got to recruit more. And I was like, in all fairness, when I looked around at Georgia State University, which is it's pretty diverse university, when I looked around my advanced accounting classes, the only people that looked like me were from other countries. So it's like, well, you can't really hire what's not, if they haven't done the work to get to the realm, you can't hire them. So something that we're not doing, I think. Another thing I was going to say is I've heard this quote before, and I just looked it back up. And you talked about this generation being, no ambition or just having a harder time. And this thing says, hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And I think what's happened is that went through our struggle, and we were like, we're going to make sure that our children never struggle. So we never allowed them to, we gave them everything they wanted. And so now they're weak, and they're going to create a situation where our people go back into a place where we have to struggle again before somebody says, we got to fight out of this. And I think it's a cycle that happens. And I think if you have children and you're in a good place, you have to make sure that you don't give them everything they want. I tell Eden and William all the time, I say, look, y'all are born Americans, but my heritage is Antiguan, and I'm gonna raise you as a Caribbean parent. And no, you cannot do this. No, you cannot sleep at somebody's house. No, you can't do this just because you want to. No, you can't be just like your friends, because we're not. And so I think sometimes we have to just say no sometimes so that they can struggle. They can have a little bit of struggle so they can have a little bit of ambition to want to do more. When I get out of my house, I'm going to work hard because I want to get what I want. So because mommy said no too much. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But that's the quote.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
It's a great narrative. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably a mixed bag. I think that, if we were to look anecdotally, those are valid impressions and experiences. And if we look statistically, I'm aware that we've got some of the largest graduating classes that we've had across the board in general, but in HBCUs in particular. And so they're definitely in the marketplace looking for positions, STEM positions, or positions across the spectrum. And I think about those in our community, those in our church community that we have a chance to see and lay hands on and encourage. And I just got the report that one of our young men who's graduating, Jalen, all of you know Jalen, he's going to be enrolling in a program to become an airline mechanic that's sponsored by Delta Airlines. And so we know the kind of jobs that can come out of that in terms of it can be lucrative. And you see things on social media that say things like standardized making trade schools, normalize that as an option. And so there are different paths. Some people are entrepreneurs, some go to school, postgraduate. So we just want to see people do well. I think we've got to take the opportunity to engage at every level, those who are related to us, those that we're connected to, that we have influence with, just to see that they reach their potential. They become all that they can become. I'm thinking about Dr. Lisa Griffin, one of the professors at Spelman, who's a part of the church community, and I just asked her, I said, how many did you send to medical school? And I was having that conversation with her. She sent a number of people to graduate schools and the medical schools. She's a professor of biology, and so we know it's a mixed bag. Some good things are happening, and sometimes we don't see it enough or as broadly as we would want to see it. But I think for the success stories that we're aware of, an opportunity to try to make a difference in the lives of those who may not be fulfilling their potential. And I love what the things that you shared, Kathy, particularly how you're raising your children with great standards, and then your anecdotal experience of what you found as a hiring teller manager. That's revealing, and I think probably not surprising or shocking to us. Where I teach a lot of immigrants, particularly from Brazil and from Africa, from Asia, and when I get them to talking, they have a lot to say about they see Americans as entitled, not willing to work hard, because where they come from, it's very much more difficult than it is here. And so they find themselves succeeding here where others don't succeed because they're willing to help each other. They're willing to work. They're willing to be patient. So I get all kinds of stories and they go into great detail, but they really disparage what they see in terms of people not taking advantage of opportunities that are here from those who are already here. So I think there's some truth to what we're saying here. So, yeah.
Well,
Well,
also, Pastor, and I was saying,
go ahead.
oh, no, I was just gonna say, Pastor, Kathy mentioned it. She alluded to it, but I think sometimes, and I'm making a distinction about Black Americans, and it's been, and Kathy just mentioned that too. And I was reading something that was talking about when the Harvard University and some of the other Ivy Leagues, you have Black people, but they are not Black Americans. So I'm asking, where are we? I mean, because if we start to disaggregate to look at, we just look at skin color, but I'm talking about, the lineage background. And I'm asking again, like, where are Black Americans? I mean, it's not just about being Black, but it's like, I mean, the children that who are their parents are from are Americans.
Yeah.
Are we showing up in great numbers? I mean, my dad was in a hospital again, and I'm referring to Atlanta, Georgia, which is supposed to be a Black Mecca. My dad was in the hospital twice at Emory Midtown, and most of the nursing staff who attended him were from other countries. And I'm like, wow, there aren't really many Black nurses either. And I mean, and again, it's not that I interact, a lot of things you just don't really pay attention to sometimes until it is in your face. So as I'm there at Emory, the people who are coming to treat him, they're not Black Americans. And again, I keep asking, where are we? What are we doing? I don't know. I'm just asking a question.
Yeah,
Well, I was going to add.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to add that there are some stumbling blocks. We cannot ignore the elephant in the room. There are some stumbling blocks. I remember many years ago, I actually took the bank teller training, and I decided I didn't want to do that. I mean, because I just didn't want to do that. But anyway, a lot of people that had their hearts set on it. I mean, they had welfare recipients that could come, people from the neighborhood that can come to this class, learn about building their credit, everything, right? But once they finished that course, I think it was like 4 weeks long, but once they finished that course, they were let down at the first interview, because if your credit is bad or anywhere near bad, you can't be a bank teller. But you can understand that too. You can understand the temptation around it as well too. Your till is full of money. But you got to think, you can let a felon be your president, but you can't let a felon do half of the jobs that's out here. We ain't gonna even talk about it tonight. But I mean, we got to revisit this thing now, because it ain't. Some people are being lazy, true indeed. But a lot of times, even when it comes to college students, I can remember when I first went to college, the first thing they throw at you is a bunch of credit cards. And if you haven't been taught, or even not being taught, but if you're at a point where you're already stretched thin with scholarship money stretched all the way to the max, especially if you go into HBCU, scholarship money stretched all the way to the max, a financial aid stretched all the way to the max, then you're trying to work a little job. I mean, it really can be taxing on a student. And then forget if your mom or your dad or somebody used your name and got a light bill in your name or something. It's a whole bunch of stuff that you got to contend with. But we have to kind of, if we see these people in our families and stuff, do our best to kind of whisper in their ear, give them I'm a hope dealer, Pastor, I'm a hope dealer. I'm gonna embrace it. I'm a hope dealer. Anything we can do to help them. You know what I'm saying? If it's just talking about, I talked to my son a couple of days ago. I'm like, son, you got to get a whole bunch of money. I hope you would buy a house. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to live in it no time soon, but you can be leasing it or something. But own some stuff, and I'm gonna tell you why. But most of the young people now, they're the microwave generation. They want stuff now. I was telling them about my neighbor just sold the house. He just sold his house, and he got $190,000 profit from 10 years. He purchased it, and from 10 years, he got $190,000. I think that's a good return. But my son, when he heard it, he was like, what? And it took a whole 10 years. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's pretty good. But yeah, so we just have to, teach one along the way, whatever we can teach them. Anything, if you've been to college and those credit cards they throw at you with the 35% interest or the 30% interest, let them know they'll be paying forever. Just, help them out, show them some things that can help them along the way.
Yeah. I was listening to this book called Quit Like a Millionaire. And I was listening to the lady who was talking about it. And she said, she was an immigrant. I think she was Chinese or something. And she said, when she decided to go to, she came up with Canada, when she went to school, she looked at what the majors were and what jobs she could get and what the jobs paid. And depending on what that was, that's the major she went to. And the premise there is that you go do the thing that you know will make you money. And then after you've done that for a little bit, you can go do the thing that your heart desires. You're young. So if you spend 10 years doing this thing that you've gone to school for, you're qualified for, and you're doing well at, and you're making money, and you're making smart decisions with that money, in 10 years, which is not a long time when you're thinking about the fact that you're going to college at 18, 19, in 10 years, you could go be the artist you wanted to be and won't be a starving artist because you already have money. What happens is I don't think that we do a good job, and I'm not going to say it's just Black people, but I don't think the schools, and I don't think that we do a good job of helping the students to think through what they're going to do at school, right? I remember Samantha when we were going to school together. And she started out and she started on the nursing course. And I was like, Samantha, you want to be a nurse? You don't even like nasty stuff. Like, she was really squirmish, and I was like, how you gonna be a nurse? You don't like that kind of stuff. How's it gonna work? And then then she changed to hospital administration, and then she changed but by then, her Hope Scholarship had been used up. By then, so it's like, we don't do a good job of sitting and thinking through what we're gonna do. I think the best thing that happened to me was not being able to go to school right out of high school, because the time that I was there, it's not like I was just so wonderful that I just thought to do, but by the time I went to school, I was like, okay, I'm already here by a hope and a prayer. I'm paying out of my pocket in hope. So whatever I decide, this needs to pay me. And, I majored in what I majored in because, I had relatives who were in that realm, but I also saw you can come out of school and make this amount right out of school. And so I stuck with it. I don't really like accounting, but it pays. So, I'd rather do that. I started out doing business administration. I took a regression class and I don't want to do this. But then it's like, you do business administration, which is what so many of us go to school and, we're going to do business. Who's going to hire you right out of college to run a business? And you don't know enough to start your own business, anything major. Mm-hmm. So it's like you kind of set yourself up by not. Whereas if you if we were taught to focus where we could make the most, and everybody can't do that, because there are going to be the artists that blow up. There are going to be the actors. There are going to be that everybody's not going to blow up just because you like to dance, right? I tell Eden, yes, you like to dance, but you sprain your ankle and your dancing career could be done. So you're gonna go be the dentist, and you can dance on your days off. So that's my spiel on that.
Yeah. That's a serious one. That's one of those conversations. It's the security versus the dream. It's the do a job I don't love for a lifetime or nearly a lifetime. I'm saying, if you do a job that you don't love and it doesn't take, 50% of your life. I don't know what the ratio justifies it. Right. Well, like, how much of life should be spent doing something we don't love? I know a lot of us do it. I know we're in that matrix where that's what we do.
Yeah.
Where we just take a job because that's what somebody, it's the means, not the end, is what Lady Wanda put in the thing. It is the means, but it's a shame that we have to accept the means if it's not something that we love doing. I guess you just have to learn to love it.
Look at it at the other end, right? 90% of Americans who are working, they work until they're 60, 70. And they're just, all they did all that time, whether they liked what they were doing or not, all they did was work. And then they have a life expectancy of 11 to 12 years after they retire to enjoy. So why not, if you can bear it, find something that you do really, that even if it's, I'm not going to say, do something you absolutely cannot wake up. You just don't want to do. But if it's something that you can tolerate, that this is not my dream, but I'm going to do it so that I can get that means, and I can stop earlier than 70 or earlier than or stop at 50, and I have 30 years to go play and do whatever else I want,
I agree. I like the concept of utilizing time to your advantage. Unfortunately, the youth is wasted on the young, so they don't realize what you're saying at that time.
Right.
But then when they do realize it, that you lost
Kinda
the
like-
time that you could have used. And now I'm definitely not going to do this because I don't love accounting or whatever it is. Because
Right.
now, but you know, we choose our life. I think I'm seeing in the chat, Tanetta put love can be a luxury. Shannon said, Lord, the Matrix. Because I said, yeah, it seems like we're trapped in the Matrix. Get a job and to earn something, and then you can do that little dream thing that you like, that little thing that you like. And
You never
for
get a
some
chance to do
people,
it.
maybe it is the little thing they like. And for some people, that's what I was called to do. That's what I was supposed to be doing. I don't know. It's a tough one. It really is.
Yeah.
Well, if I can help somebody as I pass along the way, my living will not be in vain.
Amen.
And this so much of what we shared tonight, I guess I just see the exceptions. I
Oh,
see
wow. You talk already?
one of my sons, when he applied to an Ivy League school, the guidance counselor in the school asked him, why are you doing that? You won't get in. You're not good enough. And he ended up having the highest SAT in the school. He got into that Ivy League school. He finished. He keeps in touch with classmates who are Black African Americans, who are doctors and lawyers. And we still have the opportunity to touch those around us, you know, our neighbors, our friends, kids of our friends, those in the church community. So I think, you know, for me, it's finding the exceptions and doing good where we can, while we can, however we can, and making a difference and realizing that, you know, God has been good to us, God has been gracious to us, and God has given us opportunities. We try to do the same for others, every way that we can. And I see there are mentoring programs that I'm aware of. Some of you, I know Kathy knows about the Hopeful Honest group that we're part of. One of the members of that group has a program for young African American scholars that he does, trying to expose them, trying to groom them and prepare them. And I hear about those sessions, those opportunities. I think about the young lady from our church, Ananda, who's at a PhD program in Connecticut, UConn, doing very well. So, you know, you have these exceptions and you want to see more of them, but whatever people choose, if it's doing hair, if it's becoming an entrepreneur, whatever it is, we want to push them. Want to do what we can in all the ways we can, while we can, however we can. So I'm always hopeful, going back to that being a hope dealer. Even for people who made mistakes or on second chances. I read a letter a couple of weeks ago in church from an inmate, a friend of Candace's, who wrote me a letter and said, I want to come join your church when I get out. I listen to you. I'm encouraged by what you share. I want to push him to become all that he can be. I mean, he represents so many others in terms of the whole issue of mass incarceration and how we're so overrepresented in that sphere. So any way and every way we can make a difference, I want to see us do that. So Calvin, you want to give a shout out to those who've been shouting out to us on social media?
Sure, absolutely. You have Levon Rice. Good evening, Pastor Bishop and First Lady Wanda and the Bible Way family. You have Valerie Ragland. Good evening, Bishop. Good evening, First Lady. Good evening, Bible Way family. Laverne Bowden says hello. And that's it. That's our shout outs.
I love when our Northeast Ohio peeps, our Imani peeps are with us. We appreciate you. We don't take that for granted. Love you all. Appreciate you all. Yeah. Did anybody else want to say something that didn't get to say something? Or are there any topics we didn't cover that we may want to topic, like Olympic basketball, NBA finals, anybody into hockey, anybody into the major court cases that are going on? There's so much we could talk about. So
The WNBA is up 200% viewership. The WNBA is
And I'm sure
doing
this all-
really, really well right now.
And I'm sure you're going to tell me your next statement is all because of one person, right? I'm just being funny. I'm just being funny.
Everybody's on Angel Reese right now. Angel Reese, but we'll
It's
see.
a few of them. It's not just Caitlin, it's a few.
What
So-
happened that Caitlin didn't make the team, the Olympic team? Did something happen? I just saw that.
I think the powers that be decided it's not her time. She's a first-year player. She didn't come to the camp to even try out because that camp took place during her finals, NCAA finals. But I think people are just even when I say the powers that be, coaches who make the decisions, who've been in the sports for a long time, she has to pay her dues, so to speak, and she doesn't seem to be complaining about it.
Right.
But I think it's, we'll see this go back and forth for some time now. But I think it's such a slap in the face. There's so many who've been there, stalwarts, and players as talented who don't get the time and attention. And we kind of understand the racial dynamics of this country that sometimes play a part in things like that. But I kind of hope it all evens out, that the sport is lifted, that not just Caitlin Clark, but all of the players who paid their dues and are putting forth the effort night in and night out will see the attention that they deserve, the increase in the attention, and even how they're compensated. So, but just a very interesting thing. If you're following the NBA finals, you know that Boston is up 2-0, and Dallas has not been able to handle what they've been facing. The series goes back to Dallas now, so we'll see what happens. So, yeah, if you're following that. And Calvin, you can tell us about hockey, right? NHL, Stanley Cup. Sorry.
Well, the other news today is Tony Evans stepping down. That seems to be a big, seeing that trending on social media.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's stepping away from pastoral ministry because
Who?
of
I'm sorry.
Dr.
Tony Evans.
Tony
Oh,
Evans.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's stepping away from pastoral ministry because of a past unspecified sin that was not criminal, is the way the statement reads. He's going through a process of restoration that will be administered by the elders of his church. And
Wow.
there are all
That's
kind of
wow.
things. Yeah, there are all kind of things running rampant in terms of what's really going on here. I think it's only a matter of time before more details come out about what's happening and what's going on. But he's one of the best known pulpiteers, writers, evangelists, broadcasters that is out there. And he recently, in the last couple of years, lost his wife of almost 50 years and remarried a widow from Atlanta. And now this news is coming out across many different platforms today. So also on their own website, and the church has issued these statements as well.
Wow.
So people are wanting details, but no details are forthcoming at this point. So we will keep the Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship and Urban Alternative and Dr. Tony Evans and his family in prayer. Yeah. Any other prayer requests or prayer concerns, or anything that anyone wants to bring up? I find one of the interesting things, I'm very into the what's going on globally with various genocides around the world. It's not just Gaza. There's what's going on in Sudan. There's what's going on in the Congo. There's what's going on in Haiti. But in particular with Gaza this week, what's interesting is that the U.S. is now floating a peace plan that they say they're willing to implement without Israel's participation. That's new. That's something that's new that's not been said. The U.S. is floating a plan to return hostages and end the war without the participation of Israel, if Israel will not agree to it. And I think one of the reasons is, if you followed this last story in the last 2 days of the 4 Israeli hostages that were freed, they killed up to 600 Palestinian civilians to do that. And arguably they killed other innocent hostages. They've not confirmed that yet, but the record is being reported in some instances is that 2 innocent hostages, Israeli hostages, were killed as a part of rescue. So basically, the president of the U.S., Biden, is saying enough is enough. If you won't sit down and agree to this, we will broker a peace unilaterally. So I think it's something to pray about, because I think the carnage is more than can be borne if you think about it. I read something that said that in order to that sometimes the media helps to dehumanize a population, so you don't take it as seriously when people are massacred or people are become a part of a genocide. But I'm saying that to say that I think all of the lives matter equally and just as much. And when I hear about children being killed, I saw something that really struck me and said, we ought to be quiet when children are asleep, but not when they're murdered. And so I hope that what I just heard today, that the U.S. is floating a plan that they will enforce unilaterally, will be the case, because it's possible for the U.S. to do that because Israel could not do what they do without the munitions and without the support of the U.S. So the U.S. can do that. And I think because of what happened just in this last instance with the 4 hostages and the cost to free those 4 hostages' lives, including the death of other innocent Israeli hostages, is what has brought the U.S. to the point of saying, we will impose a unilateral solution. And that may be what needs to happen, because I don't think Israel, under the leadership of its current Prime Minister Netanyahu, will stop, because Netanyahu is under investigation, criminal investigation, and for the war to stop, the focus becomes back on him and his political problems, and that this whole war started under his watch. And so he's not interested in stopping this war. Matter of fact, he's interested in another war with Hezbollah, which is north of Israel, which is a whole nother part of the geopolitics of what is going on there. And so I was on a call with our mothers today. They have a prayer call every Monday, and one of them reminded us of a scripture from Psalm 122, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And what's interesting is I have personally physically been to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a divided city. East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem. East Jerusalem is controlled by Palestinians, West Jerusalem by Jews. It's difficult to explain it and understand it, but it just reminds me that Jerusalem is a divided city in a divided region among a divided people. These are all Semitic people, and they are living with each other. They're living apart from each other. There's tension. And so praying for peace means a cessation of hostility all around. So that's my prayer. That's my prayer. That's part of what my mission was in South Africa a couple of weeks ago. It's part of what I do with a number of different groups here, even in the Atlanta Metro and with the Black Church PAC. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because that's something new that the U.S. just today said, that they are considering a unilateral peace, even if Israel will not agree to it or participate with it. So any other closing thoughts, prayer requests about anything?
I was going to say something, but it's 8:01, so I'll save it.
Please don't
Can,
save it.
can I go?
You have
All
a
right.
prayer request, Colleen?
Yes, I have a prayer request. So do you know how about Jesus is praying to be baptized and open doors and everything for because the devil is out of control, because even the Jews and eat chips and something, you have to take a bite and on there, also. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'll go ahead and lead us in a prayer. Lord God, we thank you tonight for the back and forth, the different topics. We thank you for iron sharpening iron, how we're able to hear and learn and think and be challenged and to pray and to do our parts to make a difference. And I just remember all of the requests that have been spoken that are on our hearts and minds, and global concerns, the national concerns, the local concerns, our family concerns. We give them to you, and we thank you for your presence and for your ability to make a difference in our lives. We offer this prayer now with thanksgiving. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all. We'll see you next time.
Bye. See you on Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye, Kathy. Bye, Shanna. See you on
Bye.
Wednesday.
All right now.
Is my giving in vain? Is my praying in vain? Is my fasting in vain? Am I wasting my time?
Let's do it.
Can the clock be rewind? Have I let my light shine? Have I made 99?
Come on, here's the answer.
No, no, of course not. It's not all in vain. No, no. The road is eternal gain.
That's good, man. Thank you so much for that. That's a blessing.
Okay, so that's we need to open and end. I like it. I like it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.